Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to 2024. This is our special New Year's Day edition of Cobra Island, where today we are starting off Clash of the Titans theme for this year, where we'll be reviewing mostly all combiners and Titan Clash figures. And we're starting with a very big boy in Scorponok. But being that this is a New Year's Day special, we will not be doing our shout-outs of the week. But I have a very special guest host who just happens to be one of my shout-outs of the week, one of my closest friends and who I consider like a brother. And it's not because I have not only known him for almost 17 years.
Almost 18.
Well, going on 17, 17 years this month.
Yeah.
And we've been friends for that long. He's also, not only is he one of my shout-outs of the week with Healing Grace Counseling Services on Bascowan Street, but he's also one of the most intelligent men I know that have some of the best advice that I know that I have ever received in my lifetime. Introducing our guest host, Dr. Robert C. Brown.
Actually, I'm not a doctor. I've got 2 master's degrees, but people called me Dr. Rob at my church I was going to a few years ago, out of a joke, kind of.
Yeah, and today's special guest or special theme or special figure is Scorponok. So we're going to start off with Scorponok, starting off with Lord Zarak's Big Mo, which might not be as recognizable, but from looking at the back, you see it's somewhat recognizable. It's the head of the robot, which has, a good white, purple, orange, metallic gunmetal gray paint apps on him. And he has some good articulations. The scorpion antenna thingies here can rotate. His arms can spread out this far and have good range of motion. Can bend at the elbow. He does bend at the wrist, but it's mainly due to transformation. His legs can do... He's like very good of a gymnast because he could do the complete splits. Legs can go forward, go all the way back. And not only what makes him a good headmaster is he is actually a double headmaster. And yes, his head does not only wiggly wobbly, but it can also pop off. And it also transforms to a smaller robot. So before we get on to going more with the designs, well, if you can see his legs go out like this, you could do some good bending at the going backwards. His arms have articulation where he can mostly go, his arms can go pretty much all the way up and whatnot. So let's get Mr. Rob's opinion on the headmaster version of Lord Zarak and what he thinks of his look.
Well, it's I didn't grow up playing with Transformers. I just really got into the movies when they came out back shortly before Stephanie and I got married. But I like this. It's kind of, I wouldn't recommend it for real young kids because you can swallow and choke on these. That's the one thing that if you're looking at getting your kids involved in some classic toys, make sure that they're of a certain age before they have this. I like the look of him. He doesn't have as much mobility as the larger versions, but I would recommend that for younger kids under like 5 or 6, I wouldn't recommend getting this. This is for older kids. And of course, these are going to be collector's items. So if you have them, make sure that you hold on to them. I've been kicking myself that I didn't get some of these earlier collective items when I was a kid because that would have helped pay off my mortgage.
Yeah. And of course, to get him back in head mode, you just bend the legs and voila, he's in head mode. So we can attach Lord Zarak right here to the bigger version of Lord Zarak. Let me pause this so we can do that. There we go. Lord Zarak is back together. So once again, I like the paint scheme and the whole concept of this version of the bigger version of Zarak. So let's have Mr. Rob give his opinion of this size character.
This size character, I think, is a really good representation of the classic Transformers look. You can move the arms and legs in multiple ways. This is far better quality than some of the original Star Wars type action figures because you could actually move them in certain ways, almost like they're human. And like you said, this guy can do both these splits as well as the classic full splits, which I've never been able to do. I don't think Mark has either. But yeah, this is pretty cool. It looks like just a miniature version of the original larger giant. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and we can also start with the first alternate mode of Scorponok, which is the base mode, which I am not a fan of this mode at all personally. But as you can see with the lays with the little ramps, got the nice splash of orange right there. And you got the greens, the purples, the gunmetal grays. And he also has his other accessory of the blast effect, which is usually 3 parts, but the third piece kind of fell off at home and I didn't feel like picking it up. But as you can see, you can separate them and put them in different spots, or you can put them all together as one and put them in wherever you could get a port, like one of these size ports to put these little pieces here. I just put it in there. Or you fit it like right here, or anywhere you get a port at, that can actually utilize it because it makes it look like the whole base is being attacked by Autobots. Being this is a Decepticon. And of course, you got his little shields, his little claw pincher shield, and both of his guns and shields make a good section for like right there in the arms. And of course, it's not really meant to be articulated. This is a standard base, and of course, you could have Lord Sorak standing right there. It's like he's in his little throne room. And a good little feature with these little ramps is you could have these little Battle Masters, which I'm about to show you Roller Force, to actually not Roller Force, I'm going to do Roadhog, and how you can actually utilize the base mode with the ramps, which I think is pretty neat little idea, especially if you have these little guys, these little Battle Masters. Ugh. As you see, I got Roller Force right here, and he could just shoot down the ramp, which I think is a very good, neat little feature, where you can go down the little ramp. So as we look at base mode, we can switch it over so Mr. Rob could get a good look, and he could give his expert analysis on the base mode. So take it away, Dr. Rob.
All right. Now, from what I understand, this base mode, this can turn into its own transformer.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Just the artistic ability of these creators to come up with something. I mean, kids who are from age 7 to age 12, 13 would love playing with something like this. If you have anything like this at your home, do not throw it out. Hold on to it because they don't make things of this quality anymore. Most of these things are made to only last for a certain amount of time before they break. This is actually made of pretty good quality. It's plastic, but it's actually it tends to be more durable than a lot of what you see today. And it's very intricate. The artwork and everything, you can kind of imagine what this would look like on the big screen in a live version movie or in the animated versions. So I think it's really an interesting concept. How much do these run on the market right now, Mark?
I know he was at the 160, 170 price range when he was actually first released on the market.
Yeah.
But I actually got him off of eBay, off a secondhand dealer, and I actually paid a hefty $350 for this guy.
Wow. So these guys.
So,
how much if you take really good care of this? And let's say 10 years from now, how much would this thing be worth?
I would say if it's kept in the box with the all the accessories, this being that with his size and all he can do, if you keep him in the box, he'd be a great hefty amount. Uh, I could see paying the full 350 for him because I think this was worth the price range for me, in my opinion.
Right.
But of course, I'm one of those types that toy collectors that believe toys are not meant to be kept in the box.
Yeah.
I always believe they're meant to be taken out the box and played with and enjoyed. That's the sole reason why they were made.
And
at least my opinion.
Why they're made so well is so that they can play with them more than 6 months before they break.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And so let's take a quick pause so we can get Scorponok in his other mode, his other alternate mode. So I shall be right back. Okay, and we are back with Scorponok in his Scorpion mode. As you can see, he's got his little cannons right there on his little claws, little gunmetal gray cannons. Once again, we've got the green and the purple with the silver and gunmetal gray highlights, accents, orange little stinger tail. Very nice looking head sculpt. And the cool thing is you don't need Lord Sarak, the head of the little robot, to be on it. Attached to him. You could have him sitting right there on this little peg and plug him right up there where he's riding Scorponok in his Scorpion mode, which I think is pretty sweet. He's got his little scorpion legs right there. So let's get Mr. Rob's opinion on the Scorpion mode.
Well, I'll tell you, one of my favorite scenes in the first Transformers movie was the Scorpion Decepticon in the desert with the fight. This reminds me of that, and I imagine that character was, not that it was a replica of this guy, but it was kind of inspired by this. Am I correct on that?
Well, that one was more based off of the Beast Wars adaptation of Scorponok, which was a later version, which technically was part of the Predacons faction, which was based off of being descendants of the Decepticons.
Yeah.
So in a roundabout way, the name was like a homage to this guy, being that they were both named Scorponok. So it was more of an homage than it was of a representation.
Yeah, not a representation, but inspired by it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it's cool. Now, does this thing move so it can go up and
Not really. I mean, the tail end right here, it can
tail
move.
end does. Okay.
They basically got it snapped into place so that way, it can hold, so you can keep the whole scorpion tail thing going on. But I think this is my favorite mode of the two alternate modes.
I think this is my favorite too. It really speaks to his name, Scorponok.
Yeah.
So that'd be my favorite as well.
So, I mean, this is a really good look. So we are actually going to go ahead and do his other transformation and actually go ahead and show him in robot mode. And then as soon as we get done with robot mode and give our thoughts or our description of the robot mode, we're going to do some size comparisons with fellow Decepticon / Predacon associates of Scorponoks. So see you in a second. And here we are with Scorponok in his robot mode, where he does have a little bit more articulation than he does in the previous modes, where his head does swivel. His little horns can rotate. Of course, he can bend at the elbow. He's got good range of motion in bending at the elbow.
Drop something.
Yeah. His little hook for his shield tipped off. But you see, he does have good range of motion with his arms. Get him on his back so I can show his leg articulation, which he can lift up forward, bend at the knee. You can also go backward. You can also do the splits. Stupid shield. But that's his articulation there. So let me get him back in standard mode. So there he is in his robot mode, all clearly squared away. So what's your opinions of this mode there, Mr. Rob?
I think it looks awesome. Yeah. This is on this side, but not that side.
Yeah,
Is
that's
part
more of
missing?
the artillery shield,
Okay.
his shield,
Yeah.
which he does have his two cannons up there on his shoulders, which I think was kind of dumb. They could have easily have set it the way he could have had them in his hands.
Yeah.
I mean, you can easily remove them and stick them into this little orange little peg right there.
Yeah.
You know, but it kind of looks dumb.
Yeah. I think it's pretty cool. For a plastic toy, it's relatively heavy too. This is about 15 pounds.
About that.
Yeah. So again, little kids might have a hard time maneuvering this, but it's a very attractive toy. And
I even
like
known
you
as
said,
I could even see as a 45-year-old man, I have a hard time maneuvering that thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, relatively, I think it's a top tier figure in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, it's well worth the price range. Like I said, I did pay $350 for this off of eBay.
Yeah.
But we could do our little
You can
comparisons,
do your comparisons.
which is here's Roller Force standing next to Scorponok, as you could tell, fast height difference. And then you've got deluxe class, Black Arachnia.
Mm-hmm.
As you can tell, she's still dwarfed by the towering of this guy.
In comparison with the average human, how much higher?
Compared to the average human, it'll be more of the size of like,
So
that
we're
much of
thinking
a size
this guy
difference.
is probably a good 85 feet tall.
I would say approximately.
Yeah.
And then here he is with leader class or Voyager class Nemesis Prime from the war from Cybertron. And then here he is with Voyager class Megatron. I think that's, he's still George Megatron.
Oh, much. He's almost 3 times as tall as Megatron.
And then you've got Commander class Beast Wars Transmetal 2 Megatron. And he's still dwarfing that Megatron. And then you've got Leader class Fallen Megatronus from the Power of the Primes, or the Revenge of the Fallen movie, one of the original 13 Primes, and he still dwarfs Megatronus.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got one that will relatively can meet his in closest to size, I would say, is Combiner's Legacy Combiner Menasor, which is all 5 of the Stunticons, and he is still menacingly dwarfed by Scorponok. So that really states the height and the amount of plastic that this guy has.
Yeah.
You know, it's well worth the price range, in my opinion.
Right. How much is the price range in comparison, like with that next big one? Right there?
Well, Menasor, that one, if you get the, you can get them made individually, like Drag Strip and Dead End and Wild Rider and Breakdown would be at a roughly $24, $25 price range. Motormaster, which is comprised of the body of a Menasor, he'll be at the $55 range.
Okay.
So if you buy him as a set, you could get him at maybe $150, $160 for the set. As compared to somebody like Scorponok, you're paying $170, $180, close to $200 for him. Even if you get him on the aftermarket, you're paying well over $200 for him, close to $300. If you're paying over $400 for him, you're overpaying for it. At least in my opinion, that would be my right. But $350 I can see as a price range. That was pretty much the cheapest I could get.
Yeah.
Just for having this guy, just for having this huge figure. And I'm kind of glad I have him in my collection because he is actually the tallest Transformer I own. Second would be Autobot Arc, which I've reviewed about 2 years ago on this channel. So go back in the archives to see that. But this is actually the tallest one I have. I'm actually glad I have this in my collection. So any final thoughts there, Mr. Rob?
No, not really. Other than it's a very impressive collection. I've seen a lot more. You have a lot more at your home.
Yeah.
A lot more of these guys that if you have any of these toys, do not throw them out or just give them away virtually in a garage sale. Hold on to them because they're actually going to be worth a pretty penny. And kids are still going to enjoy this, even in our video game age. Kids are going to still enjoy it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
This is like when I was 7 years old. I was into building blocks, Lincoln Logs, Tinker Toys, and stuff.
Yeah, the Legos were just coming out.
These things are just far more intricate than what I had to play with as a kid. I'm 56 now, and so it's been a long time since I've played with toys of that nature. But even I, as an adult, can fully, a full-fledged adult of 56 years old, can fully appreciate.
Yeah, and I've even talked to
the art
yeah.
and the technology that went to design these.
Now, I've even talked to your wife, Stephanie, and I've talked to quite a few people, and I've always said, when it comes to boy toys, Transformers would be the best for a boy coming up. Due to the fact, you might agree with me on this, but it's due to the fact that with the art of transformation and all the work that it does to go into transformation, it does help activate a boy's imagination
it does,
and does problem solving.
In some ways, in a way, different than what a computer game would do.
Yeah.
And
because these are more hands-on than video games.
I'm a big fan of Legos. The thing that this has, though, is you can actually play with them after you put them together.
Yeah.
And
the cool thing is they all come together except for just putting on their accessories and the stickers.
And I was into models for a little while when I was a young kid, and those are pretty cool. But once you make them, they just sit there on the shelf and it's eye candy. Something like this you can actually play with. I don't know if you've ever considered this on your channel, Mark, but do you remember the old line of the Shogun Warriors they had back? It predated.
Yeah, I remember them.
The Shogun Warriors.
Yeah, I remember them.
Comics actually even had a line of comic books back in the late 70s.
Yeah, because eventually I want to branch out into other toy lines, but right now I'm really focusing on my G.I. Joe and Transformers, which actually reminds me, next Monday, January the 8th, here's a special announcement for my Cobra Island viewers. That starting January the 8th, which is a Monday, I'm adding a third episode to my weekly episodes. So I'll be going from 2 episodes a week to 3. And Monday, I will be solely basing my video on the cartoons of the 80s and into the 90s. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually ironically starting with Transformers Episode 1 from Generation 1. The part 1 of More Than Meets the Eye. So definitely check that out next Monday as I start reviewing cartoon shows. And in that lineup with the cartoon shows, there's going to be Transformers, obviously, G.I. Joe, obviously. But I'm also going to be going into reviewing the Thundercats cartoons, Silverhawk cartoons, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoons, and any of them that come out with live action movies. I will be adding the live action movies with it. Even though how some of them actually are not all that great and actually relatively horrible, but I would still give you my honest, as honest as I could get, review and opinions on them. They may not be popular, they may not agree with your views, but everybody has their own opinion. Like, I think this is one of the most awesome Transformers they ever created. Some people might find it, as, he's just too big and clunky. They should never have made him that big. It takes too much to transform him. It takes too long to transform him. That's your opinion. You have the right to think that. That's like me with the Cobra Life figures from G.I. Joe. I don't think Snake-Human Hybrids has a base in a military cartoon or military toy line. He-Man on the other side, they fit in. But that's my opinion. You might like Cobra Life. You might like Nemesis Immortal because he's super purple. You might like this guy because he's got the right amount of green and purple. You like what you like. I'm not here to change your opinion, and I'm not trying to change your opinion. I have my opinion. But I think this is a really awesome Transformer just because of the alt modes. I mean, the base mode has a lot to be lacking for. But the Scorpion mode, I think, is awesome, and the robot mode is awesome. And I think it's a great figure. It's a great piece to my collection. And like Rob even said, he thinks it's an impressive figure. But I'm wrapping it up here, and thank y'all for the indulging me and Rob in our exploration of reviewing Scorponok. And see you in the next one, which I will be doing one later with G.I. Joe with Rob and Stephanie's son Liam, as we're going over a G.I. Joe vehicle, starting our G.I. Joe's year of the vehicle. This has been Scorponok for our Transformers Clash of the Titans reviews for the theme of 2024. I hope everybody has an awesome 2024. I hope everybody had a great 2023. See y'all in the next one. And as always on Cobra Island, until all are one. See you in the next one. Peace. Thank you, Rob.